Let's talk about feedback in general and specifically test-driven development while I'm working on this Damson plum. Hi, my name is David and you're watching a series where I talk about software development while I'm working on my bonsai trees and on my pre-bonsai. It is early June 2025 and I actually wanted to shorten some of the new growth here, but the new growth hasn't fully hardened off yet. And this is feedback from the tree that it is not ready to be worked on yet. So I'll probably have to wait another 3 to 4 weeks until I can do that. Feedback from trees is usually very, very slow. But I have another thing that I can do. I can work on this wound right here. So I did cut a rather large branch here, I think 2 years ago, and I applied a certain kind of cut paste, one that needs to fully dry out to be airtight. And at first it seemed to work, but after some time, sap started flowing out from this cut paste. So that was feedback. It didn't work. It took several weeks to fully manifest itself. But then some resin was building over there, and I thought that the resin was hardening and that this would seal off the wound and let it heal. But with every heavy rain, the resin was washed away and the wound was open again. It was growing bigger. So that was feedback again, and it again took some weeks. So I've decided to use this cut paste. This is one that doesn't have to fully dry out to be tight, and this finally worked, but it took another few weeks again until I saw that it definitely was working. So from trying something, waiting for feedback, and then trying something else until I actually came up with a solution, it was several months where the wound was growing bigger. So as I've said, the trees give feedback very slowly. If there would have been any chance to speed up that feedback, I would have taken it. I would have tried to I would have sped up this feedback. In software development, we have a lot of ways how we can speed up feedback. Test-driven development is one of them, but we have many, many more ways. So if we are working in an environment where we get slow feedback, then we deliberately chose slow feedback. Maybe not deliberately, maybe out of neglect, but not choosing is also a choice, not choosing something that would work. So in software development, we often work in environments where the feedback is slower than it could be. And that's a problem because when we work on something without waiting for the feedback, then we might make a problem worse. So with the tree, I always have to wait and see how the tree reacts to my treatments before I can do more of them, because otherwise I might hurt the tree, I might kill the tree. With software, we have a similar problem. When we don't wait for the feedback, when we don't see what our actions have caused and simply continue working on the software, we might make problems worse. So how can we get faster feedback? One way to do it is test-driven development, which means write the failing test, make it green, refactor, repeat. This cycle should take minutes, not hours or days. And with test-driven development, we get instant feedback about a lot of things. We get instant feedback before we write the first line of production code. We get feedback about our thought process. We get feedback about the order in which we implement stuff. We get feedback about our design. Is the test hard to write or is it easy to write? So this is actually a quite simple way to get feedback. By the way, we have another kind of feedback here. You see that the cut paste here is getting some cracks, which might mean that the tree has started healing this wound. So I'm now going to remove the cut paste, check the wound, and then see what I can do with the tree again. So why don't we do more test-driven development then? Why do so many developers and teams choose not to do it? I think there are a couple of different reasons. It's hard to get started, maybe. But on the other hand, I can teach you enough to get started in a 3-day training course, maybe even in 2 days. So I've had groups in training courses where after 2 days, they were able to test drive most of the problems that could come in a real project, but in the safe setting of the training course. You can learn the basics pretty quickly because it's also not a very hard practice to learn, at least when the basics are concerned. But then implementing it in a real project is something different. Implementing it in some kind of big code that is not ready for being tested before writing the code is kind of hard. But there you need practice. And we also have ways how we can help new developers and new teams to practice. Ensemble programming is one of them, or Saman coaching. And there are people who can help you get this practice. So that's also not really a valid reason to not do it. By the way, here you can see that a tree has started building callus tissue to grow over the wound. And I want to give the tree a reason to create even more callus tissue to close the wound more quickly. So I will scar it a little bit here around the wound, which will hopefully make the tree create more callus tissue more quickly and grow over the wound more quickly. So if we have a way to teach people how to do test-driven development, and it even doesn't take a lot of time, and if we have good ways for people to practice test-driven development on real problems like ensemble programming or Saman coaching, why are people still not doing it? There's some more reasons. Maybe they've tried it and failed and never tried it again. We could solve this with a combination of teaching and Saman coaching. Or I think the only really valid reason is why single developers don't do it is because no one else on the team is doing it. Because then when you're the only developer working in a test-driven way on code that your colleagues write without test-driven development, this can become a real pain. So in these cases, I personally have given up to using test-driven development alone, and I would try to convince the team to try it together. So again, we could use ensemble programming here, we could use Saman coaching here, we could try to get our management to invest in a 2-day or 3-day training course. So there are ways out, and as I've said, the benefit of test-driven development is not necessarily the tests that we create. It is the instant feedback that we get about our decisions, especially about our design decisions. Now, that's it for today. I've cleaned the wound and I've scarred it a little bit to stimulate new growth here. And now the last remaining thing I'm going to do is I'll apply some cut paste again. I'm going to wet my fingers so that the cut paste wouldn't stick to my fingers. And then I use quite a bit of cut paste because it's a big wound. It's this sticky stuff right here. Form a ball from it and then just press the ball on the wound and then make sure to seal all the edges of the wound. And this should suffice at least until autumn, where I might check the wound again. So what do you think? Have you tried test-driven development? Did it work for you? Are you working in a team who's using it? Or are you not using it? And why are you not using it? Why do you think others don't use it? And how else could we get faster feedback about our designs and about our thoughts? Tell me in the comments, and I'm going to see you next time with another video where I'll be working on one of my trees while talking about software development.